Hey guys, James Griner here with Waterford Business Solutions. For this first video, I really wanted to start from the bare bones beginning of everything with QuickBooks. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start out with you have just decided to set up a new QuickBooks Online account and every step you need to take in doing that, along with setting up the basic account settings for you and what each of those is going to mean. So we're going to start right here. So I've already bought the account. And we are here at step 1 about telling them about the business. So generally when you buy an account or set up an account, what it's first going to have you do is it's going to say, okay, give us your company name, give us your name, give us your email address, phone number, yada, yada, yada. So I've already done all of that stuff. And we're going to start from setting up within the actual QuickBooks account. So what's going to happen here is it's going to again ask what is the full legal name of your business. So ours is going to be known as Sample Man LLC. We're just going to start with that and play from there. Then we're going to see what the business does. Now most of the time when we're looking at this, 99% of them are going to end up being, at least for my industry that I focus in, is going to be like a contractor or something like that. And so if we type in electrician, you have something that comes up like utilities. But if you're a standard house electrician, you're not really utilities. You're more of a specialty building contractor. Or we come here, plumbing. Again, there's not really anything specifically for plumbing. So again, I kind of recommend doing specialty building contractor. Carpet cleaner, same thing. We're going to kind of come here. There's no specific thing for carpet cleaner. You're going to have like cleaning and maintenance. House cleaner. Again, same thing, not really anything there other than cleaning and maintenance. So we're going to say that Sample Man LLC is actually a HVAC company, which again doesn't come up with anything, so we're going to go with specialty building contractors. One thing to keep in mind with this here is it's going to be something generic. What QuickBooks has done here is they've developed kind of a generic chart of accounts that would work for a specialty building contractor, or would work. So they've kind of pre-set up some settings based on this. So go generically here and I really do not recommend doing this option down here, typing in plumbing. And then you see, okay, we can't find one that fits, use plumbing. Don't do that. Find something generic that works with you, because if you do this, then it's not going to use any of those kind of preset settings for you. Then down here, it's going to ask if you've been using QuickBooks Desktop and want to bring over your data. If you're setting up an account from scratch, don't check this. Now, if you're actually transferring data from desktop to online, that's when you check this, but that's not what we're doing here. So we're going to go next. And then it's going to ask us, what are we going to do in QuickBooks? Again, this is helping to figure out what we need to do. So we're going to say we're going to pay our employees. We want to track our sales tax. We want to track our bills. We're going to organize our expenses. But we're not going to have any inventory in this company for now. But we are going to send invoices. We're not going to have any retail sales because we're an HVAC company. We don't have a storefront or anything like that. We just send invoices. And since we're paying our employees, we're going to track our hours too. So we're going to hit all set there. So it's going to pre-set up some basic settings. It's going to go through on this and kind of give you some things on where to look and everything like that in your basic setup steps. So it's going to say first thing you need to do to start invoicing is set up payment, send your first invoice, and swipe cards in person with our mobile app. So setting up payments, this is going to be your merchant services. So you're going to say, okay, we need to get some basic info. We need your business info. So what's the business type? Sole proprietorship, partnership, LLC, corporation, nonprofit, email, legal business name, web presence. So you have social media links, website, everything like that. How much do you think you'll process monthly? What industry category, and maybe a little more specific. Then they're going to want some information on you, social security, everything like that. And then they're going to want your bank information. So that's what you're going to go here and do. This is signing up right here for merchant services. So what you want to understand is that by doing this, you're going to be able to accept payment through QuickBooks by credit card and ACH or EFT transfer, but you are going to be charged for that. So if you look right here, each transaction that you do is going to cost you 25 cents. Then you're going to have your MasterCard, Discover, everything like that. So you are going to get, if they pay for the invoice by the email that you sent, it's going to cost 2.9%. If something gets disputed, then you're going to have a $25 chargeback. So stuff like that, you are going to have to follow all these fees here and pay those fees if something happens. So just kind of keep this in mind when doing that. Same thing with ACH transaction fees. If they pay by credit card or by check and you put it in as an ACH transfer, you're going to pay a 1% transaction fee on that. So keep that in mind. So we're going to pretend like we went ahead and set all this up, and we're going to hit Activate Payments. We're going to leave that. Then it's going to say Send Your First Invoice. Well, before we do that, we want to set some stuff up. So we're going to come up here to this gear icon and go to Account and Settings. And this is going to be where the main stuff is all set up. So the first thing we want to do is set up all our company information. So we're going to start here and say our legal company name is the same as our regular company name. Then we're going to say, okay, we got an EIN, and we're going to put our EIN in here. I think I put too many digits there. And you're going to have to make sure that you dash that, otherwise it won't save it. There you go. So now we got our EIN and our company name and our legal name here. You can also go ahead, come in here and add a logo. We're just going to come in here real quick and just choose, we're going to make this our logo here. So it's going to go ahead and upload all that, process it, hopefully. There we go. We're going to save that. So now anytime that we send an invoice, log in, everything like that, it will send this logo. The EIN is important because this EIN is what ends up making up a lot of stuff. If you send W-2s out of here, if you pay your employees, if you send 1099, stuff like that, it uses this EIN. So it's really important to have this in here. Then we're going to come in here and do tax form. So what type of company are you? So we're going to say that we're not a sole prop, we're not a partnership or LLC, we're actually a limited liability right here. So, and one thing that you'll see right here is limited liability, and then you'll see partnership or limited liability company. So, kind of difference here is going to be, this is going to be self-employed limited liability. This is going to be like a limited liability that's filing as an S Corp or a Corp. So kind of keep that in mind. And then your industry. We already set that up, so that's really not a big deal there. Then we're going to come here to the company email. We're going to see our company email there, but we're going to say instead of our customers emailing us here, we want our customers to email us here. That way, whenever we send out an invoice or a receipt or anything like this, this is the email that goes out instead of this email. This is going to be the email that QuickBooks contacts you at. So same thing here, company phone number. This is going to be what you want your customers to see. Because by doing this, it's going to go ahead and come in here and say, okay, on every invoice you send, if you've got any questions, here's our phone number to reach us, stuff like that. Don't make this your cell phone if you don't want your customers calling your cell phone. Now you are going to have to make sure that you're choosing the code here for the country. Keep in mind we have moved to a very world economy, so they always want to have all this stuff in here, so we're going to just do that. And you should just have to type in, and it'll go ahead. As long as the box isn't red, then you're good to go there. Then we're going to go to website, so put that in. Again, this is going to be something your customer sees. So you want to point them to, this is our website. Company address. So this is going to be like your legal, or the company address where QuickBooks sends you information. So you can have 3 different addresses in here. So we're just going to put this in here as this address, 111 any Main Street, anywhere, Arkansas. There we go. And then our customer-facing email. So maybe we want QuickBooks to contact us at our office or our warehouse, but we want our customers to come to our office. For some odd reason, it didn't like that. But we want our customers to contact us at our warehouse or our actual office, so we're going to say 112 Main Street. It may or may not like me here. Okay, so it did like all that. And then we got one other one down here. So then we got our legal address. So this is going to be anytime they file for sales tax or payroll taxes or 1099s or anything like that. So maybe you want this to go to your actual home address. So this is going to go to 111 MLK Boulevard, anywhere, Arkansas. That way, this is where our business is legally based out of instead of where it is located for our customers. So that's what we're going to do there. As we go through here, we're going to come down here to billing and subscription. So this is going to just kind of go over what's going on. So this is your subscription, what it is, how much it costs per month, and then right now this one is on trial. So it's going to say trial. Then it's going to say, okay, you have self-service payroll or you don't have. Then it'll go over, okay, you've got full-service bookkeeping, or you've got bookkeeping set up, or you've got your online payments set up, and we've already kind of talked about that online payments on that first page, and then checks and supplies. So this is going to go over everything that you're going to get billed for here. This is also going to give you your company ID. So if you ever call QuickBooks for support, they're going to ask for either your EIN or your company ID. So this is one place where you can find that company ID. You can then come here to usage. This is going to show you your usage limits. So if you're on any account other than advanced, you're going to have usage limits. It's going to limit you to the number of billable users and the chart of accounts. So you can always just kind of see that right here. Coming on down to sales, this is where we get to start customizing things. So right here, preferred invoice terms. So maybe when you send an invoice, it's due upon receipt. So you want every single invoice that goes out of QuickBooks to be due upon receipt. We'll choose that right there. Preferred delivery method. You're going to say that you're going to send it later or none. So this is going to say whenever you create an invoice, you're going to send it later or print later, or you can say none so that you can send it immediately. I generally recommend leaving that at none unless you're a company that you kind of create invoices throughout the month and then you send one massive thing at the end of the month. That's kind of the only time to not do none. Shipping. So this is going to give you a shipping field. So if maybe on an invoice you want to have a bill to field and a shipping field, that way maybe you bill to their house but you're shipping to their rental house, something like that. This will also kind of help you with, maybe you order, since we're a imaginary HVAC company, maybe you order an HVAC unit and you want to tell your shipper or the distributor this is where you need to ship it to instead of to your warehouse, something like that. Then you can come in here and do custom fields. So maybe when we're doing this, we want to track our salesmen. And we want it to be internal. If you do a custom field, you can choose whether it's internal or whether it's external too. That's just kind of up to you. You are limited to 3 custom fields in online. And the other thing to keep in mind is if you ever do any type of external integrations, 99% of the time these custom fields don't integrate there. So if you create a custom field, it is exactly that. It's custom. It's not in the base way that the program runs. So you want to make sure that you're using these for what they need to be used for, but if you want this information to potentially go to a different system or a third-party application or integration that you have, this may not be the best place to do that. I strongly suggest just kind of talking about it, checking with the application company to see how it works, stuff like that. Custom transaction numbers. With QuickBooks, it'll start with a standard invoice. So we're going to say 1,000. But maybe instead of having invoice 1,000, we want to track our invoices by C-10-19-1. So that's going to show us that it's a commercial invoice. It's in our 10th region for 2019, and it's the first invoice for 2019. If you want to do something like that, you want to have these custom transaction numbers. Service date. This is going to say this is when we serviced you. Some people really like to have that, some people don't. It's kind of up to you. And a personal preference more than anything. Sometimes you want to have that date on there so that if a customer ever calls, complains, anything like that, you can say, here's when we serviced you, here's when we billed you. That way you kind of keep that separate. Most businesses that I kind of deal with, they bill upon completion. So if you're billing upon completion, generally you're billing the day that you did the service, or you're billing the day that you finished the service or the install. So having a service date on there, it's really not going to do anything different other than the invoice date, as long as you stipulate that our invoice date is your service date type thing. Discount. This is going to allow you to put discounts on your invoices. So a 10% discount or $100 off or something like that. If this isn't checked, you'll have to do it as a line item. Absolutely, it's fine to do that. I kind of like having the discount field because it makes it a little bit easier to do percent off discounts or give an explanation why or something like that. So if you're going to do discounts, I suggest this discount field, but it's not necessary. You can absolutely do it as a line item. Deposit. This is going to be, okay, we're doing a $10,000 job for you. We require 50% up front, so $5,000. So you're going to create an invoice for $10,000. You're going to invoice them for that, but then you're going to want to record, okay, I've received $5,000 at this before we started work. A deposit is exactly what it kind of sounds like. It is a deposit before work is done or before it's finished. Tips and gratuity. This is going to be, okay, we're a house cleaning company, and whenever a customer has service, if they want to leave a tip for us, we want them to do that. When you choose tips and gratuity, you're going to have to say whether it's just me or my team. Be very cautious with tips. Definitely speak with someone that knows your area or understands your business about doing tips before you do them, because you got a lot of legal things to look at there with how you pay them out, how you take them in, how you track them, everything like that. So just double check anything on tips. If you say my team, then it's going to say that you want to update the sales receipt template so that you can go ahead and see everything there. And you're going to have to basically say who worked that job so that it'll track the tips by your employee, not just track the tips in total. So we're going to keep coming on down here. Products and services. This is going to be product and service column on sales forms. Definitely want to have that. SKU number. If you've got SKU numbers that you know your SKU numbers, show the SKU column. That way you can choose the SKU and you can search by that SKU instead of the product and service name. If you don't have SKU numbers, don't worry about it. But if you do, it's definitely going to be useful there. Price rules. This is a newer feature. As you see, it's still kind of in beta, at least when I'm doing this screen recording. So this is going to be able to say, if this customer is a service agreement customer, whenever they buy this product and service, so they buy a filter, they get a 25% discount on it. A lot of times in the HVAC industry, what I see is you've got service agreement customers where you bill them $150 for the entire year to come and service their unit twice. And then if they need any filters, or if they need this or they need that or they need service, they get a 10% or 20% or 25% discount on it if it's beyond basic service. So this is what you would do here. That way you can put in, okay, this customer is a service agreement customer. If they buy filters or if they get extra service or if they do this, then they automatically get a 25% discount. That way QuickBooks is tracking that and you don't have to keep up with that. Track quantity and price rate. So this is going to be, excuse me, this is going to be adding a field on the invoice so that you can go ahead and say they bought 10 filters and it costs them $10 a filter. So it costs them $100 total. That's going to be breaking down that rather than saying they bought $100 worth of filters. I really like this and strongly suggest that you do this, but that's kind of up to you. If you just want to say, okay, they spent $100 on filters, that's fine. But I like to know how much a customer bought or how much of that product I sold in a month. Just kind of gives us a little bit more information there. Track inventory or quantity on hand. So this is going to be inventory tracking. And this is going into a completely different subject, and I'll probably do a video later on this. But this is going to say, okay, we brought in this many, or we bought this many on this date, we received them on this date, and as we sold them, we take it down. That way we can pull a report and say, hey, we only have 5 filters left, we need to order more. I'll go into more detail on that later because this can just get really complicated. And I'll end up doing a video on this a little bit later. Coming on down here to late fees. This is, again, a newer feature. It's in beta. But you can come here and say, okay, I want to do late fees. And you can say, okay, I want to do a percentage or I want to do a flat fee. From there, we can say, okay, we're going to do a grace period. So maybe it's a net 30 invoice. And you've got 30 days before late fees are added. Once late fees are added, you start adding 10% once per invoice per month or per day. It's kind of up to you. So maybe you want to charge 10% per month. And that's $10 per month. Sorry, we'll go to percentage here. And there we go. And then you also want to do an upfront fee. So maybe because they're now 30 days overdue, and 60 days past when you did the service, maybe you want to just charge them a flat $100. What this will do is every customer that you do not turn late fees off for, if they don't pay, it will automatically add these late fees, send them an email reminder, everything like that. This is really good. I've actually been messing around with it. It's a lot of fun. It works well. And you can actually set it up to do a per day, and it'll add a fee every single day. But there's so many different little things with this that I'd rather kind of talk with you personally on that than go delve into this. Progress invoicing. So a lot of people in the home service industry, you'll go ahead and you'll send an estimate to a customer and say, okay, it's $10,000 to do this work on your HVAC unit. What we're going to do is we're going to charge you $2,500 up front before we order the unit. Once the unit comes in and we get you scheduled, we're going to charge you another $2,500. Halfway through the work, we'll charge you another $2,500, and once we're done, we'll charge you another $2,500. So this is taking that one estimate that you create and creating several, 1 or 2, 3, 4, 10 different invoices off of that one estimate. So if you're going to be doing that, this is where you go to turn it on. Messages. So this is going to say whenever you send a email off of a sales form, so that's going to be your invoices or your sales receipts, something like that, coming in here, and we're going to come in here and say, okay, this is the greeting that we want to use. This is the name that we want to use because it's going to pull this from your customer files. You're going to choose what you want to do here. So your invoice, estimate, credit memo. So you obviously, when you send an estimate, you're going to want it to say something different from an invoice. And then you'll be able to choose your subject line, your actual email message, Maybe you want to CC new invoices to a particular address so that you have them, or BCC. You can set up all of that there. And you can do that for each and every sales form that you have here. Again, invoice, estimate, credit memo, sales receipt statement, refund receipt. Everything there, and choose exactly what you want. That way it just sounds a little more personal. Reminders. Maybe you want to, after you've sent an invoice, 2 days later, send them a reminder saying, hey, we have this. The other thing is, this is with the invoices in QuickBooks, you can send a reminder. So this is going to specifically be that reminder coming on here. Online delivery. Show a short summary in the email, show full details in email, how you kind of want that there. Whether you want it to be an online invoice or an HTML invoice or a plain text invoice, how you want that email to go through, how you want it to be attached, stuff like that, so that you can find information there. I like doing an online invoice because if you're paying through merchant services, that's what you need to do. Coming on down here to statements. Nope. Okay. This is going to be how your statements show up if you send statements to your customers. Few different things you can do there to modify that. Coming to expenses, few less things that you can do here. You can choose how you want to show your items for bills and expenses. So maybe you want to be able to purchase individual items out of your price list. Or you just want to purchase them as a whole. That's kind of up to you. Track expenses and items by customer. So if you want to say that this expense was directly for Jane Doe, this is where you're going to turn it on. Or this expense was directly for John Doe or something like that. That way you can see both the income and the expenses there. Makes it kind of nice there. Make expenses and items billable. So if you want to have an expense and then mark it billable so that the next time you send an invoice, so maybe you go to Lowe's and you buy $100 worth of materials at Lowe's and you're going to mark that up. So we're going to mark it up automatically by 25%. So you spend $100 there. When you put that on the bill, it'll charge them $125 for that. Kind of whatever you want, you can set that up to happen automatically here. Track billable expense and items as income. You can switch it up into multiple accounts. You can do it into a single account. Kind of different things in here. One thing to keep in mind with billable expenses is they don't always work well, again, with third-party applications. So definitely talk with any third-party applications that you're going to be using to see whether billable expenses work. Default payment terms. So you can put in here that by standard, every single bill that you have is a net 30 bill. I don't recommend doing that because most vendors have their own standards. Use purchase orders. If you use purchase orders to purchase something and then it turns into a bill and then you pay that bill and so on and so forth, make sure you turn on use purchase orders. This does not automatically come with it. This is going to be, okay, you go buy a Train HVAC unit and you purchase it from Train. So you need to send them a purchase order. Here's the invoice that it's going with. Here's the purchase order number. Here's what we're buying. Here's when we need it. Here's where it's going to be delivered. Once it comes in, you say, okay, we've received this. Now let's turn it into a bill. It's due in this many days. Then you pay that bill, and you just kind of have that timeline there within QuickBooks. Makes it really, really nice for you. Coming on down here to messages, same thing as what we had in sales. This is going to choose how your purchase order messages come out by email when you send them to the company. So you can just modify all that there. Payments. This is going to go into the QuickBooks payments, how you use those, everything like that. So if you're not using merchant services, don't worry about this. This is only going to show up stuff if merchant services activated. Advanced. This is where we start getting into some more tricky things, and I really suggest talking with a bookkeeper or an accountant, someone before you start messing in here. So first thing up here is your accounting, first month of your fiscal year. First month standard is January. Different companies do different things, but this is where you go in to find that. First month of the income tax year. So maybe your income tax year is January, but your fiscal year is June. Generally, they match up together, but it really just kind of depends on you and how you want to do everything there. Accounting method, whether you're doing accrual or cash. Accrual is the best method to use, but not everyone likes to use it. Close the books. This is going to make it so that no changes can happen before this set date. Again, talk with an accountant before you make any of these changes. Talk with a bookkeeper before you make any of these changes. And don't talk with the person that you hired off the street from high school to be the bookkeeper. Talk with someone who's certified or that you trust or that knows what they're talking about so that you set everything right in here. Otherwise, it's going to affect you for the long run. Company type. This is going to be based off of what we did on the company page. Shouldn't need much of a change there at all. Chart of accounts. Maybe you want to see account numbers. I like account numbers. It makes it easier for me. Your tips account. If you're going to be accepting bills, what account does it go to? Your markup account for when you have billable expenses. Where does it go to? Your billable expense income account. Where do your billable expenses go to? So you can modify all that here based on the mapping. So if you activate tips, or if you activate billable expense, or if you decide to do markup, make sure you map them here. This is about the only thing on this page that you shouldn't really consult with someone on if you've activated it back here on the sales page. Coming here to categories. So this is going to be tracking classes and tracking locations. That's a whole nother thing. I'll probably get into that a little bit later. But this is for tracking both income and expenses for specific classes and specific locations. Automation. You can set it up to kind of come in here and do things automatically for you. So automatically apply bill payments. So if you make a payment on a bill, it'll automatically apply it to that bill. If you've entered a previous invoice or a previous expense, it'll pre-fill the information that you've already done. This can be really nice, but make sure that you're checking over this. Keep in mind, this is a computer doing this. Computers are great, but they haven't taken over the world yet. Don't let them take over your life. Project tracking. This is going to be another one that I'm going to go into more depth on. If you turn this on, you see right here, this setting is permanent. Do not turn this on if you do not know what it is. Talk with someone, please. Time tracking. You can go ahead and track on the sheets to see kind of how time tracking works, or make time tracking time billable to a customer. I don't see this happen a lot, but again, talk with someone before you do anything. One of the most important things on this page is this currency. Do not mess with this without talking with someone. This is turning on multi-currency. Once this is turned on, it can never be turned off, and it will permanently affect your books. And it will permanently make it a pain to do anything in if you do not have multi-currency. So please do not turn this on without talking with someone first. Other preferences. You can choose your date format, your number format, how you want your customers to be labeled, how you want to be warned if you have duplicate bills, duplicate journals, duplicate checks, stuff like that. And you can choose how long after you've been inactive that it signs you out. So that's really the basic setups of everything. Again, anything kind of other than this advanced page, you can mess around with all day long. It's not going to do any permanent damage. You can always go back and change it. But once you get to this advanced page, please talk with someone to just make sure that you understand what you're doing. If you do not understand this, please, please, please talk with someone. I can't say it enough. And that's going to be the basics of setting up your settings in the account. Once you set up those settings, then we can go into more detail, and I'll get into that in a little bit later of a screencast with you on different things. The only other thing that I want to hit real quick is manage users. So this is going to be where we go to add in your users and your accounting firms. So come in here and choose accounting firms if you're going to add your accountant. You have 2 accountants that you can put in here. One for your accountant, one for your bookkeeper. Go ahead, click invite, put in their name, first name, last name, and their email. Ask your accountant what information they want you to use, because if you don't use the email that they have set up with QuickBooks, then you're not really going to be joining their accountant firm. You're going to be kind of setting up a whole new account for them. So talk with your accountant first on this. Same thing here with the users. When you come in here to add a user, you get to choose what type of user you want. Standard user, company admin, reports, or time tracking. These down here don't count towards your user limit. These up here do. So choose company admin and put in first name, last name, email. You do not set up the password for anyone. They set it up themselves, and they will need to accept the invite and either log in, or they will need to set up their own account if they don't already have one. If any type of Intuit account already exists, whether it be for QuickBooks Online, Merchant Services, QuickBooks Desktop, TurboTax, anything like that, then it will go ahead and already have an account. If you don't remember your password, click I forgot my password and try to reset it. No accountant, no one can reset the password except for that user and QuickBooks, but you have to be on the phone with QuickBooks to do it. It's a pain. It really is, but it's a safety concern. So that really wraps up this setup video. If y'all have any questions, feel free to email me, call us, anything like that, and we'll be happy to try to walk y'all through everything. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.